Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode. It's the last one of the week. It's Thursday. I'm excited for this one. I've been waiting all week to talk to Yara. Guys, give it up for my guest, Yara Qaqish.
Yes. Hello. Hi,
I got
guys.
it right.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Yara. I'm really proud of myself for saying your name correctly this time. I was nervous.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
Good, good. And yourself?
Well, not too bad. I mean, it feels like we're living in different countries right now because you're in Dubai, I'm in Abu Dhabi, we're in lockdown, and you guys are kind of going back to normal life.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. In some aspects you are. Like things are opening up, but technically everyone's still afraid to go out and do the normal things. So it's like a weird balance that we're living.
I heard a very funny joke, and it was like, I'm going to treat this reopening of the world like a new Apple software. I'm going to let everybody else try it first, and then I'll download.
Exactly. Let them suffer.
Unfortunately, like we've been living such a weird life for the last 3 months that nobody knows where's north, where's east, west anymore. We're just trying to I was talking to a guy earlier on the podcast, and we're running on instincts, most of us.
Yeah. And we're just running on instincts and hope that we'll just wake up one day and we'll be like, oh, everybody's cured. You can have a life again. This is what we're living on.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, like, hella, Dubai, basically, have you gone out? Have you gone to the malls or anything?
Malls, no.
Okay.
I've been going to work. So I've been going to the office. I've been going around the stores because I also work in retail. I do marketing for retail. So I've been going around the stores across Dubai.
Okay.
But
Oh, no. Your audio cut. Not sure if you can hear me. It's weird, the audio just cut. Can you hear me? No, she can't hear me. Oh no. Hi, Alia, I see your comment. So can you hear me, Alia, or you can't hear either
I
of us?
can hear you now again.
Oh, perfect. Okay, what happened? Did something get pushed or something? All right.
I don't know. No, it's just.
All right, perfect. Okay, so YouTube says we're okay. Sorry about that. I had no idea.
No problem.
So you were saying like the stores and the shops, like are they affected right now? Do they have really slow traffic, or is it kind of back to normal?
When it was the complete lockdown time, we were doing just home deliveries and a lot of home deliveries. But now everyone's back in the stores actually, so it feels quite normal inside the grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
But everywhere else, it's still quite slow and not a lot of people.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Everything seems still surreal, but the beach is happening, like in all of the cities. Did you notice that?
That's true. That's true. I went to the mayor the other day, and then there were people on the beach, but all the restaurants were closed. So
I don't know. Like they think the sand and the salt cleanses corona. We've all become doctors and scientists right now.
Yes, hoping that the sun and the heat will take away all the disease.
This is the thing, honestly. Like my personal opinion. Again, I'm not an epidemiologist, although a lot of people sound like them these days. I think we're going through this like recession of corona because of the heat and summer. And I'm actually worried that like when the weather starts cooling down again, we're going to have dropped our guard, lowered our defenses, and then it's just going to smack us again. And we're going to be in this like stuck in lockdown again. I hope not, but I don't see us getting this vaccine anytime soon.
Yeah, it's all part of this uncertainty that we're feeling right now. Nobody really knows for sure. It keeps changing day to day. We can only hope that if that really happens, that maybe we develop some kind of herd immunity and we won't be as affected as we would be right now. So that
would be beautiful. I feel like a cow when you say that, but I don't mind.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't mind herd immunity as long as I can get back to Jiu Jitsu. Labas, you know something, you had to like, I really believe I will see a real light at the end of the tunnel when they can give us like a diabetes prick test. And then within a minute, we know if we have corona or not. Because then we can do that test outside of Team Nogeuira or wherever. We're negative, we go inside, throw the gloves, throw the mask, and just train.
Yeah.
So
that would be the best case snenario. Best case scenario where everyone feels safe and comfortable again with sweat all over them from their partner, you know, going back to the norm, sweat in your eye. in your ears.
Oh no, stop. Don't go too much details for people. They'll leave jiu-jitsu. يعني أنا for me, it was already difficult for people to get into jiu-jitsu because everybody's like, oh, they're wearing pajamas and they're hugging. Now, Corona, it's like sweat on each other, mouth open? No. And nobody wants to do this. Right?
And not to mention the physical contact, like it's like the complete opposite of social distancing.
Oh man, God help us. I have no idea how we come back to normal from this one. Like, I hope we recover, but it's gonna take some time. But,
we'll get there.
So you've been quite busy. Like you haven't been totally locked down. You obviously work a very demanding job. So you've been juggling between lockdown and trying to meet the requirements of your job. How about jiu-jitsu? Have you been doing any training, any exercise?
Yes, I'm lucky enough to have a very annoying, tough black belt at home, who's usually the worst round in class and the round you want to avoid. And now you have that round, 10 times every day. And I love it. It really kills you. It brings down your, self-esteem big time,
You're stuck with him at home. Can you imagine?
Just want to chop those long legs off and just put them somewhere on the side. But
right. I've seen your couple pictures. He is quite tall.
He's like 192 centimeters.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I'm 163, so
no.
You can imagine.
I'm just imagining in my head right now if I was to live with my professor. That's like as cool as it sounds, like we can get to roll every day. I'd be dead. My ribs, everything would hurt.
Well, to be fair, we've reached a point where we give each other a good round. Okay. It's even though like he's so tough and he's physically so annoying.
You take it easy on him.
I want to believe that we got to a point where it's some kind of a role for him, like at least he sweats.
Wow. Okay. This is the thing. Jiu-jitsu is one of those beautiful things that you can affect the kind of workout you get from it. You can make it extremely demanding or you can make it flow, regardless who you're training with. It's such a unique one. I'm sweating my ass off against the training dummy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's possible. It's just, I think these days, we have a very unique opportunity. A lot of people are looking at it negatively and well, we're not training and I don't know what. We would have never had a chance in our jiu-jitsu lives to be healthy and not on the mats, able to focus on everything outside, like our physio, our physical conditioning, our mental side, studying the game.
I completely agree. Actually, right before Corona, if you would ask me what would be the one thing I would want, then it would be time. And because I was constantly running around, like I was waking up in the morning, running to work, running from work to the gym, running from the gym back home, preparing for the next day. And it was a constant loop, like 6 days a week, run. And, it's crazy. So you just want those moments where you can just breathe, look at life, as you said, in a different way, and actually get a chance for our bodies to heal. We really beat up our bodies in jiu-jitsu big time. Like, I don't know one jiu-jitsu athlete who will say, oh, I have nothing, hurting me. So everybody has so many injuries that have, become so much worse over the years. So maybe this time is a time for us to actually finally heal all those injuries. I see a lot of athletes doing their surgeries now, that they put off for a long time.
True.
So this is a great chance for us to heal our bodies and our minds and really, really appreciate why we really do jiu-jitsu. And it's not just for the ego and the sport and the sweat, but it's actually, for me personally, doing jiu-jitsu was about the gift of being present and disconnecting from everything for 2 hours a day. So we lost that, but we gained a lot of other things in these times.
Very well said. I mean, like everybody, jiu-jitsu or not, the world got crazy the last decade. Like everybody was living a hectic life. We kept complaining, we kept saying, man, where's the time going? It's summer already. Like we were freaking out because we felt like we lost control over our clocks, which is... It's a symptom of living, not to say it so negatively, but like in a rat race format. People weren't living in the present, like you said. And jiu-jitsu gives us that twice a day, once a day. We get to be in the present where we feel like nothing else matters and we're doing something right now. But it's hilarious that you say, like, that's how bad that we waited till a pandemic came to do our surgeries.
Yeah. Like the jiu-jitsu community is like, we got to a point where the more injuries you have and the more you're competing, the tougher you are, you know? Like, oh man, you don't even know, I broke a rib, I broke my wrist, my back
Yes.
hurts, you know, and then I'm there winning, you know, that
Yeah.
and then we're supporting each other doing
Like
that because
medals, like trophies.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Unbelievable.
we need this. We really need this time out, and the smart people are the ones who use this time to
Yeah.
actually sit with their families. You know, a lot of people haven't actually sat with their kids or their parents or their spouse in like, I don't know, a couple of years now. So they're just meeting them again. Like, oh, they're not so bad. Like I like these people.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree. That's such a huge thing. And I think we're going to come out of this whole situation. US a little bit will be delayed at the moment, but I mean, we're going to be coming out of this a lot more aware of our surroundings and what we need to be happy, because we've been chasing unicorns. Like people have
that's
been
true.
chasing really false gods, if you want to call it that, in a like philosophical matter. But I mean, everybody's been chasing this thing that doesn't exist when they have everything next to them, right?
That's true. That's
And I think we'll come out of this all right. But I really want to get to know you, Yara, from a sense of where this whole journey started, because I feel like your life is 50-50 between your personal career and jiu-jitsu. But I wanted to know, when did jiu-jitsu make a presence in your life? How young were you?
Well, right before, so I'm just gonna take you back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was a dancer all my life. I danced for 10 years.
Okay.
I was
What
doing
kind
all
of
kinds of
dancer?
dance.
Hip hop?
I was hip hop, traditional, salsa, ballet, contemporary, you name it.
Very
I
cool.
was even like I was constantly performing at school, joining dancing competitions. So you can see I'm always like competitive.
Okay.
But I got to a point in university. I was around, I would say, 18. I just started university,
Mhm.
and I was going through a frustrating time with dance because it's very different than the fighting world. In dance, it's not in your hands. It's rarely in your hands. It's in your teacher's hands if they want to put you up front. It's
I
in the
see.
judge's hands if you want to win, and it's never really in your control, no
Wow.
matter how much hard work you put in. So that was really frustrating. So I wanted a different outlet, and at that time I was with my husband Bassett at the time, and he actually was doing jiu-jitsu. He was a blue belt at the time, but I wasn't
Perfect.
interested. I wasn't interested. I just said, I want to do some kind of martial art.
Okay.
And he's like, fine, I'll take you to my gym. And he took me to Team Mirza in Jordan.
Okay.
And there was like two different classes going on at the same time. One was jiu-jitsu and the other one was Muay Thai and kickboxing. So I took
Okay.
one look at jiu-jitsu, and keep in mind, like, just to put you in the mood, it was a basement.
Ocean.
Okay. It was small. It was humid. And
Uh-huh.
then you have on one side all these sweaty guys, like cramped into one space,
Okay.
and just it really seemed unappealing to me, like no way I'm doing that. And of course there was at that time not a single girl.
Oh no.
On
Okay.
the other side, it was Muay Thai. It seemed light, it seemed fun. Okay, I
Yes.
want to punch and kick and be cool.
Cool.
So I told him, no way I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I'm going to do Muay Thai.
That must
And
have been heartbreaking for him. He's like, "What's wrong with
it
jiu-jitsu?"
was, it was, but he tried, right? He tried.
Yes.
And I started doing Muay Thai and kickboxing. And a few months in, my coach saw some potential in me. My coach Ismail at that time, he's still coaching Muay Thai, by the way, till today, and preparing MMA champs. And he was like, I see something in you. Do you want to compete? I'm like,
Wow.
what? I'm
Wow.
still new. And he's like, no, let's put competitions in your mind, and then why not? Let's work after that. And I worked with him. I did like 3 competitions, like on an Arab Middle East kind of level. I got like a gold in one, a
Wow.
bronze in another one. And then I was doing like constantly training with the guys, full contact with big ass grown men. And eventually I also got my black belt in kickboxing.
Whoa.
Uh,
How
and then
how
I
long
got
is
to
this process?
4 years. But the black belt was within the first 2 years.
Okay.
And then I continued to train and want to compete. But with kickboxing and Muay Thai in Jordan is quite difficult. There's not a lot of competitions in
Yeah,
general. And then for girls, it's even less.
for sure.
So I was getting frustrated because I'm naturally competitive and I really wanted an outlet. So I got to the point where like, fine, maybe I'll do MMA. It was around that time where Ronda Rousey was happening. She was everyone was like talking about Ronda Rousey. It was even back at the Strike Force time, not even the UFC. So I was inspired. I'm like, okay, maybe it's something that I can do. And then that's when I went back to Basel. Like, okay, Basel, teach me a few things. Maybe I'll like this.
You knew you needed jiu-jitsu if you wanted to do MMA.
Yes, of course.
I see. Okay.
And then he tortured me.
but in the beginning, did he quickly let you? Okay, he's like, no, but you didn't want jiu-jitsu. Did he do that?
No, not at all. He was super excited. He was like, yes, it finally happened,
Okay.
And we were always debating on what was better, jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, because that was his thing. So this was his chance to show me.
Oh no.
And he gave me my first few classes. And he got me through a lot of hurdles. Like, I was actually afraid to front roll. I really thought I would hurt my neck, or jump guard, like things that now are second nature, but at that time seemed very scary. And after that, he had to leave because he was actually studying in Beirut, U.A.E University.
Okay.
So he's like, okay, you want to train? We have to find a solution. And that's where I got linked to Haider. And then I continued training with Haider. Basel would come back and forth from Lebanon for like, I don't know, four years when he was studying there.
Okay.
And I was doing up until the first year Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. And then moving forward, like 6 months in Jiu-Jitsu, I decided, okay, I want to do my first Jiu-Jitsu competition.
Okay.
And I went to World Pro at the time. I signed up as a white belt.
Your first competition?
Yep.
What year was this?
2013.
Damn, because that's when they were like pulling out all the bells and whistles for the World Pro, so it's intimidating. Okay.
So the last competition I saw was back home, for kickboxing. Very little money put into that tournament. It was like very low budget. And then going from that to World Pro, I was like, wow, oh my God, the referees are wearing ties. What? Like, what's going on?
Seriously, huge difference.
Yeah, and I did quite well. Like I lost my first match by an advantage, and then I ended up still fighting because of the system. And then I ended up getting the bronze medal. So I'm like, okay, not too shabby, first competition,
That's
World
a nice
Pro,
feeling.
bronze medal. Yeah, it was good, and I've only been fighting for 6 months.
Okay.
So then after that point, I was hooked. I'm like, that's it. I'm dropping everything else. I'd rather be great at something than just mediocre at two things.
Sure.
So I stopped.
And you saw the potential.
Else.
You saw the direction with Jiu-Jitsu.
And it wasn't easy, of course, at the beginning. It was just me and another girl at the gym. And
which gym was this? Sorry.
Remember.
Which gym was this that you were training at?
This was Haider's gym. It was Matrix Team Mirza.
Okay,
at
Matrix
the time.
Team Mirza. Okay.
So I remember that for the first month, I was actually uncomfortable to roll with guys. So I just kept rolling with this girl until one point, Haider, he took me to the side. He said, listen, like, I know these guys, they're good guys, and you need to train properly, and you can't just keep doing this. So I gave it a shot.
Interesting. Okay.
And then I forgot about it. Then it became, again, second nature, rolling with anyone I would meet.
That's so interesting because this is like a big hurdle for a lot of people between the genders, especially in this region. And they overthink it to a large extent when it doesn't need overthinking, because once you roll, your only concern is not tapping. Like your only concern is getting the position and stuff. But when you don't roll, that's when you think, it's even with guys. Like when you look at another guy, like, damn, that guy is jacked. And holy shit, am I going to roll with him? But once you get into the roll, you're not thinking if he's jacked or not. You're just following your instincts,
Yeah.
So
I think it's just this, it's a combination of things. One of the things is, as a culture, we're not really close to each other. As a culture, we're keeping our distance all the time, even on a day-to-day basis. We're not that kind of culture that hugs to say hi, or, you'll find a lot of people sitting close to and attached to each other. It's not how we live. And then I was moving from a training environment where it was these big guys that, we were punching and kicking, but it still felt kind of guarded and okay.
Yes.
And then moving from that to having someone up in your space was like a huge jump for me.
Absolutely.
But once you do that, once you learn to let go of that boundary, and you're very right, actually, it's not just with the guys, even with the girls, because when I bring someone to coach for their very first classes, even the women, the full female class, they really feel uncomfortable the first time they have to mount someone or put someone in their guard.
Sure.
And it's just this closeness that people are not used to. But this is actually the beauty and essence of what we do. This closeness is what later on becomes your bread and butter, you know?
It's bread and butter, but it's also, Yara, like a lot of people that are uninitiated in jiu-jitsu, they don't understand that in a real life situation, okay, we do train sport a lot and we're not so focused sometimes on self-defense, but we have a leg up on other martial arts because real life situations, people don't like distance. When a real fight situation happens, it's either too far away and it never happens, or it gets up really close and personal. And the person that's totally uncomfortable in that, they're the ones that end up getting hurt the most because they turn, they give their back, and they do really stupid shit.
That's true. And you know what's funny? When you look back at all your fights with your siblings at home, you're probably wrestling at some point. Or
unless you're punching, which is weird.
Yeah, that's a bit extreme. It's either wrestling or throwing a shoe. There's no like kind of...
Yeah.
But
ranged warfare. Shahata, yes.
But the natural instinct is to kind of hold someone and kind of block them away. And it's just the thing that we lose on a, you know, when you live outside of the martial arts world, which we have to be like reasonable. We're a minority at the end of the day. And the majority of people are people who go to work, you know, don't have to even touch someone else, go to the gym, go on their treadmill, also don't have to touch someone else. And then, you know, have their social gatherings and their life. But it's totally different than every single day saying hi to someone you've just met, bumping your fist, and then having no problem with any kind of contact with them. It's very different, but in a way, this is how kind of human contact should be, like raw, unfiltered. You get to know the person right away when you roll. It's very different than when you speak to someone. Maybe they can hide or filter who they are. But when you roll, they really can't filter who they are. You will see that grit or that acceptance of you winning or them being too competitive. You will see that right away.
Absolutely. More than any martial art, I feel, because a lot of martial arts, I like to consider them as pretend martial arts. Not that the martial art itself is pretending. It's that you have to put up an image as part of your game. So like in boxing and Muay Thai and in kickboxing, you have to give this fierce look. You have to be this first aggressor.
This persona.
100%. You can't be like, us, and go into a boxing match. No. But you can be us, and be a killer in jiu-jitsu because you don't have to prove anything off the mat. In the mat is where it counts. That's it.
And this is what I love. I love the fact that I can sit with my opponents and talk about all the similarities, because at the end of the day, when you think of it, the people you compete with are the people who will probably have the most similarities to you than any other person in the world.
Exactly.
These guys are doing exactly what you're doing, you know, and thinking exactly how you're thinking. So these guys are probably in another gym, your best friends.
Yeah.
So talking to these opponents, getting to know these different women and from all over the world, and then being able to step in there and have no feelings. And I really look at it as chess. You know, you won't hit someone or be upset with someone if they win you at chess. Well, you might if you're a bit competitive, but I mean, you won't take it personal if somebody wins you at chess. And I see it exactly the same way. That's why for me, I don't mind finding anyone. Like, even I always joke, like if Basel was there in the tournament up against me in a bracket, I would, you know, slump, you know, touch fists and go because it's really not personal at all. And people should stop looking at it like, I respect teammates who give away fights to each other and stuff, or I do respect that dynamic, but it should be a game, a sport where you should be able to fight and compete with anyone without those
100%.
those feelings.
I think there's a lot of beautiful examples of that. Like when you see the Europeans and even the IBJJF tournaments in the States, like you see Buchecha and a lot of the top guys, Leandro Lo, they're buddies that they train with each other, but when the match happens, it's the most entertaining match. It's like they want to kill each other and then they hug. That's how it's normal. It's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, 100%. The worst rivalries or like the most intense matches you'll see in the gym are best friends, couples, or siblings. Like if you see those two fighting or having a match, it's really dynamic and crazy and to the death, you know. And then I always laugh about this at the gym whenever Basel and I would want to have our role. someone always has to comment. I don't know, the comment comes from either side of the
Oh,
mat, but someone always has to throw in, someone didn't do the dishes, or, like some,
they throw a
some kind of
dagger.
weird, yeah. And then, like, I even Coach Hafa, he would sit on the side and he would kind of start cheering on Basel, like, you show her, like
Oh
you.
man. Oh no. And then that fires you up and he gets screwed.
Yeah.
I see. I see.
Yeah. But it's all fun, it just shows like how fun things could be like in a jiu-jitsu environment.
That's what I love about the culture of jiu-jitsu as well, is because there's this separation of body and mind. Um, a lot of the times you find in a lot of combat sports, it's always aggression. And how many combat sports do you know that people can be talking from the outside in an interesting way? It's impossible. Right? If you think boxing, karate, and stuff, did somebody do the dishes? Khabit. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu, it's like, I have your lapel, I'm planning it. I look up and they say, I mean, like, there is so much
Yeah.
strategy in jiu-jitsu. It makes it so much fun. It's like you're leveling up every time you train.
When you mentioned that, actually, the person that comes to mind is my national teammate, Zaid Jarandoha, and
Okay.
he always has the weirdest names. Like, he refuses to call the moves by their actual names, and he
Oh
always
no.
has new names for his students for everything. So when he's coaching them and you're standing beside him, it's like the most fun you could ever have. Like, he'd be saying, like, parachute, like,
Oh no.
kick
Sprawl?
him. I don't know. Like, he has all
Sprawl
these
is
weird.
parachute?
Yeah, parachute is when you're in mount and you go like extending your full body. But he's awesome. He's super creative with how
That's
he
cool.
connects with his students. But if you want to
Okay.
hear some interesting, coaching outside the mat, you listen to Zaid.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm excited to find out more about him. This is the cool thing. Like, we have such a diverse group of people. And when it comes to jiu-jitsu in the Middle East, the whole reason I'm doing this whole platform is because we've been so fixated on the West, and it's natural because the US is very smart in media and marketing and campaigning, because it ends up leading to more money for the fighters, which is
Yeah.
great. But the Middle East, we have such incredible people, and everybody has this unique story, this unique background. And I'm like, that's why I enjoy talking to people like you and people like Zaid, hopefully in the future, and the guys that I've spoken to. We've got gems here, and there's so much to learn from you guys and what you know and how we can evolve our game. But
It's really unbelievable when you get to see all the talent that we have in this region.
oh yeah,
And in some cases it's actually heartbreaking, because if this talent was like really showcased on the platforms and supported and pushed, you will see like amazing things come out of these athletes, because they lack
100%.
nothing. They lack absolutely nothing. Let me tell you, these guys, they're technical,
Yes.
they're smart, they're dedicated, they're strong. Like, it's absolutely mind-blowing, like the level that we have. And even when we don't have like the massive resources that other countries have, like just looking at like Jordan, and just giving it as an example, because it's a small country with, you can say, limited resources in some aspect, and
Yeah.
culturally sports are not number one in all aspects. But then you see all these black belts and these new talents and all these rising up to the challenge. And at the end of the day, all they have is their own grit and their own belief, and their willingness to make it. And
Yes.
imagine these guys, if you give them the support, unstoppable. I'm pretty sure they'll be unstoppable.
You're throwing gasoline on a fire at that point, because like they have everything. They have the wood, they have the flame, they've got everything. They just need to pour that gasoline on and let them go. Because it's like you said, we are operating right now on a very basic level. But look at it even on another perspective, inspiring. Like,
Yeah, of course.
I look at it in a sense that just talking to you already, I feel inspired and hyped up, because man, I'm so impressed by Jordan. You have no idea. Like, ever since I started this podcast, I'm just like, man, Jordan's doing it. Like, there's something going right there, because I knew it, and I've been to Jordan. Obviously, I've trained there, but I didn't understand deeply enough. Like, after talking to Thabit and now to you, it's like eye-opening what's possible.
I think one of the things that makes jiu-jitsu in Jordan really, really special, and you will see that if you enter any gym, is the fact that they still teach jiu-jitsu as a martial art in the terms of discipline.
Wow.
So you will have a lot of aspects that I feel nowadays are kind of reduced or lost
down.
from jiu-jitsu. Yeah, they're still there. So the discipline, the respect, the the way that you're supposed to treat your coach, the mat, the sport, it's all still there. And they even take it beyond that, where they really make you suffer to get what you want, you know, like you don't just know your fundamentals, you live and breathe your fundamentals until, like, I remember Haider would make every single person like maybe lose hope in living before, you know, telling him, okay, you're ready for that belt, you know. He made sure that every single person getting promoted is really worthy of what they have. And I think that's the thing across Jordan. Like, it's rare to find somebody who has a belt that hasn't really been earned, or no, they didn't put in the time. And also you see it in gyms here as well, of course, like Team Nogeuira, the level is unbelievable. You know, it's crazy. But when you have the right roots, everything is possible. And I think that's one of the things that make Jordanian Jiu Jitsu so special. And the fact that, you know, we're always trying to kill each other. So that also brings the level right up.
Oh, yeah. Like, Jordan is naturally a very tough society. Like, they're very warm, they're very sweet when you get to know them and close, but as a society, as people, they're very strong-bodied, athletic, the guys even. So, like, I always, when I was first going to Jordan to train, I'm like, oh no, like, what can I expect training here? You know? And
death.
but you know what? I was like pleasantly surprised. Yes, the level was high. Yes, the jiu-jitsu was amazing, but it felt like I was in the States. And by the way, I've never been to the States, only when I was a kid. So when I say that, I don't even know what I'm talking about. But in my imagination of like this cool environment, these friends high-fiving, hanging out, going, grabbing acai afterwards. Maybe not acai, maybe knafe, but like the vibe. Yes, smoothie. The vibe is the same. You know, you guys, it's not commercial. I'll be honest with you, like something that I want to see more of in the U.A.E, and I like what Team Nogeuira is doing. Rafael is from like the old school, from the gaucho mentality in Brazil, where they are tough and everything. And they came up with a very nice plan in Team Nogeuira where they actually test you, and you have to do certain things. They found a nice balance, because you have to please clients to make money, but you also want it to be legitimate. What ends up happening is gyms that don't have a system, they lose the plot. And they're like, let me just promote him before he quits. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. And it's so easy to lose track when you're a gym owner amongst billions of gyms and trying to keep jiu-jitsu alive, that you just want people to stay motivated. But honestly, the system that they have is something maybe other schools should also start doing. It's really nice, because first of all, even if you don't have your, let's say, your belt, and by the way, yes, they give you a time frame for your belt, and you know how many classes you need. But at the same time, they're honest with you. Even if you finish the amount of classes, they will tell you, you know what, you're not ready. You know, it's not like a system where, okay, I finished 10 classes, give me my belt. You know, it's still, as you said, it still embodies the old school kind of concept of when you're ready, you get the belt, and when you deserve it. But at the same time, you have like the knowledge of approximately what you have to do to get there, and it manages your expectations, and it keeps you motivated, and there are still stripe days in between. And I think what other gyms lack is, listen, coaching is definitely not easy. Like even when I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu and I wasn't doing Muay Thai, and since dancing I was coaching. So you're talking about, I've been coaching for 15 years now, and I'm still understanding a lot of things about it. And one of the hardest things is the planning and keeping up with all your students. Imagine if you have 50 students, you know, and you're so excited that your gym is happening and you have 50 students, but if you don't keep track of all of these students, their levels, where they're going, how they're advancing, who's showing up, who isn't, you know, who's a competitor, who's just there as a hobbyist, you know, different stages of life, different approaches to training. If you don't keep up with that, it's going to be a mess. So a best way to have it is a system, and also a lot of care and a lot of you being attentive to your students. You know, this 100%. Is something not everyone I feel actually does, you know.
I think something really important based on what you're saying as well, to highlight with Jiu-Jitsu, a lot of people, they get their purple belts, their brown belts, they're so passionate about Jiu-Jitsu. My dream is to open an academy, and they just want to open it, and the branding and the design and everything, they open the gym, then they get surprised by how many people actually want to do jiu-jitsu, and they get flooded and they freak out. They're trying to make it high quality. I know the feeling. I know people that have started gyms, and it's kind of like a bicycle. You gotta keep pedaling or it'll fall over, you feel. And they get stuck there. They end up without a system.
Yeah, this is a kind of a thing in our sport where it's acceptable once you get your purple to start coaching and have have your students, and that's good and bad.
Okay.
It's good because it helps spread jiu-jitsu, spread the knowledge
In places where there's
more. Yeah, but it's also bad because there's no manual in your journey of jiu-jitsu on how you can become a coach. It's always about how you're going to become a great athlete, a great jiu-jitero, but it's never about how you're going to pass this knowledge on to somebody else. And that's really critical because not every athlete is a good coach. Like you've seen, I'm sure you've attended many seminars where it's like somebody really top level, and then you go to the seminar and you're like so disappointed, either not by the moves themselves, but like how the person explains to you the move or how they approach you. And that really shows you it's not just about you as an athlete. Coaching is really hard. It's a level, it's multiple things. It's you understanding your students, it's you being approachable, you planning. I feel like planning is something that we lack a lot in the community. Like they don't look at classes as curriculum, structure, I think they just step onto the mat sometimes. They're like, oh, I'll just give this today, and it really, you can really tell the students that where the coaches have actually taken the time to develop a curriculum and a structure versus the students who are just taking random techniques. And these students don't connect the dots when they fight. Maybe they know how to do let's say a berimbolo, but they don't know how to do just like a basic armbar from close guard. So I remember this is a lot of the things that I approached when I was doing the ladies classes is I would actually tell my students in advance, this week we're doing 1, 2, 3. We're going to focus this entire period on this until you guys master this part and fully understand it. And they come to the class aware and knowing about what they're going to take. They even know that if they miss Thursday, they're going to miss this part and then they can't connect. And this is how it should be. It is a learning process. Jiu-jitsu is like a language. You can't learn random words, random grammar, and then, figure it out on your own. So you have to have somebody kind of leading the way, and at the same time, understanding what are your strengths and weaknesses and how you can develop that. It's also the coach's responsibility to kind of give you that, what we call like the sandwich feedback model, where you give them like the positive, you slip in the negative and then the positive again. Absolutely. And this is something that's really important for athletes to keep them motivated. Sometimes people stay a long time without a promotion, but they're still motivated because they feel their progress. And this is something a coach also makes you feel,
I think something very important and advice to people that plan on coaching that you mentioned is programming. Like so many people just, like you say, even if they plan the technique that they're going to teach their students, they kind of like, okay, Saturday I'm going to teach them berimbolo, Monday I'm going to teach them arm bar, and then Wednesday I'm going to teach them rear naked choke. It's like they have nothing to do with each other. I like, for example, I went to Serbia once for work, and I passed by this gym. I had no idea who it was. I interviewed him here on the podcast, Gile Huni. He's the guy that created BJJ Eastern Europe. I had no idea about all of this. I just went to a gym, go inside there, and the guy literally spends 1 to 3 months on one topic in his gym, Kimura. Like now they're doing Kimura again for 3 months. Imagine that.
Wow.
His white belts are deadly. His white belts are blue belts in Kimura, but they're white belts in Mount. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I really like this model. I think a lot of people, the level of jiu-jitsu can go a lot higher with more programming like this.
Definitely. Then you'll have specialists. Then you'll have people understanding their game to be able to build on it. When you have people who understand, why am I doing close guard? There's a beautiful video by Keenan Cornelius when he talks about the 8 layers of guard retention. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And I thought that was such a brilliant way to link how you move from one guard to another and why. Why are you moving to the next guard? See, we never really see that in training. The coach rarely tells you. They teach you half guard really well. They teach you close guard. They teach you the hiva. They teach you, whatever, lasso. But they don't tell you that, okay, when you're in this position, if you're forced to move, this is the best case scenario. This is your next guard, for example. Right. And the way to connect these things is super important. It actually makes it easier for you to connect the dots. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see amongst a lot of jiu-jitsu athletes is you have athletes who train 3 times a day, and then you have athletes who train once a day, and you will see sometimes those once a day athletes like beating the other ones. Why? Because you have training and then you have purposeful training.
Yes.
And the difference is you can do those 3 times a day, blank mind, rolling every time with nothing in your mind, versus purposeful training where for this entire week, every time you roll, you're going to try to do this technique. And then you sharpen and sharpen.
Wow.
So I tell this to people all the time, especially I see a lot of my friends sometimes on the mat and we're rolling, and I look at them and they seem frustrated after the roll. And I just ask them one question. Did you go into that round thinking of what you want to do? It's like, I would say 70% of the time, no.
Exactly.
The answer is no. I didn't think of what I want to do. I just wanted to play jiu-jitsu. And I tell them that's fine. But if you want to improve, and if you don't want to feel so frustrated, and if you don't want to end up following somebody else's pace, you have to know what you're doing that day on the mat and how you're going to get the best of your time on the mat. Like, train smart.
That's incredible. Honestly, like it sounds simple. But you're right. Very few people do it because they just get caught up with the whole fact that I'm in jiu-jitsu. I just don't want to think about anything. I want to have fun. But then they get disappointed when they're not improving or when they're not getting the next belt. I think, another thing as well, part of the whole promotion process that a lot of people miss out on when they just fixate on the belt or they take it personally. Part of, I believe, martial arts is obviously making you humble, but as well not getting what you want when you want it in life. Because we 100%. All... Yeah, come on. Okay, let's be honest. A lot of us living in this region, right? Our culture tends to be more pro this like family and looking after your kids and pampering them and all. Like the parents always want to give their kids better than what they had. They don't want to just give them enough. They want to give them better than what they had. And we have this mentality that we almost expect things in our lives. And the reason I feel jiu-jitsu is so valuable for our region is because it kind of breaks that and makes you realize, okay, Baba and Mama can love you to death. Right? But they can't help you. You got to do this yourself.
It's really humbling as well, because going through your belt system, and I'm sure you faced that as well, that the first question they'll ask you, like, how long have you been doing the sport? And you'll say 3 years, for example. And then, okay, what belt are you? And then you'll say blue. And they'll say, okay, how many belts are there? And then you'll explain to them the belt system. Like and then, 5. Oh my God, you're still a blue belt? And you've been doing it for 3 years? Exactly. You must suck. This is a struggle that you always have to, even if it's an adult conversation, like you're at work or something, it's always humiliating, for the people. But
so true.
But this kind of discussion is a part of, what humbles you and makes you understand that, by the time you get your black belt, you can get a PhD, you can, become a doctor, you can build a whole business. It's a long-term commitment that, from day one, you see the end result and, if I'm going to be a black belt, I'm going to endure all of this. And you just have to take it as it comes. Otherwise, you're not up for the challenge. And that's why 80% quit at blue. I don't know, something like 40% stay for purple, and then 10% stay for the black belt. And that's why.
Unreal. This is another big reason why we have to have these conversations and have to highlight more people in a region. We operate as human psychology on similar people. So if I was to look and find a guy from Hawaii, right, surfer, and all of this, I don't relate to him. He might be super successful, but I can't imagine myself being him, because I don't imagine waking up next to the beach and surfing in the morning. But when I see somebody from Jordan, somebody from Palestine, somebody from the Emirat, becoming a black belt, being respected, walking into a place and everybody listening to them and stuff. Now, 10 years doesn't sound so bad to me. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
I understand it.
The way you touched a very important point, actually, when you talk about looking for that relatability in your community. And that's something that I believe a lot of us struggled with at the beginning, because at the beginning you want to look at those, you want to watch those championships, and you want to see that representative,
Yes.
whether it was male or female. You really wanted to see that black belt winning, going up against the Brazilians, the Americans, the Europeans, and winning. You
Mm.
wanted to see that, to give you that push, like, if this person can do it, I can do it.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, like, for the men it was there, for the female it was even worse. Like, we didn't have that representative for a very, very long time. And
True.
so, being a blue belt at the time and purple belt, I would always watch the divisions. And
Mm.
sadly, the fact that you don't have representation makes it feel even further away, and more impossible, and harder to achieve, because no one has done that. And now I believe it's kind of, I don't look at just having a black belt as, oh, I'm a black belt, I'm a role model. No, I look at it as a responsibility,
Yes.
that if I want to be there on that podium, so that the girl training can look and say, okay, there are Arab women there are women from the Middle East representing. So if she can do it, I can do it. And
Oh yeah.
I believe that's all of our responsibility as Middle East athletes right now.
Yeah.
We have to represent. It's on us to either make it grow and have millions of people doing it, or we can just turn off that light, and it's something I take really passionately, and that's why I keep trying to grow this female community of strong Arab Jiu-Jitsu women that will lead the way.
I see that about you. I see from what you're wearing. I see from what you're saying, because you're somebody that's very patriotic, not just in your country sense, but in the Arab sense, because you are definitely promoting that very actively. Before I interview people, I tend to kind of like stalk them on social media, on the website, and you are somebody who's constantly wearing the Jordanian flag, representing and competing almost as a people, not as a person, and I like that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, when it comes to national sports, football, basketball, all of these, why do people flock in the millions to watch them? Why do they all tune in to watch them? Because it gives them hope that, like, when they see the Jordanian team doing something, it's not, Zaid and Ahmad and Basel and whoever. Like, it's me. I could be that. My kids could be that. There's hope.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's the big thing about sports that people sometimes don't click in their heads. If we can build what you're building right now for women, then women like you, women like the Qaqish sisters, there's plenty now. It's incredible, but your parents didn't do jiu-jitsu. Now imagine your kids, kids. You guys, like, Mama, did you do the mount correctly? Did you move? Like, holy shit!
That's the dream right there.
Next level. Yeah. Can you imagine you're training, and then your dad coming up to you being like, Yara, no, shift your hips a little bit here. That's when you become like world champion mode.
That would be amazing. See, there's so many levels to this. There's the level of you trying to represent as an Arab Jordanian female, or for me, it's, as you said, I really take passion in all Arab women, like not just one country, because if you look across all of the Middle East right now, maybe we're five or six black belts altogether.
Really?
Like, yes, in the entire region. Like, and the majority is from Jordan, by the way. I think they have one Emirati lady black belt, and then the rest are all Jordanian. You have Ghalia, you have Iman Bilbesi, you have Rana and Lema, and then myself. And so that's five, and then so we're six.
That's
if
incredible.
Apologies if I forgot anyone out there.
I'm sure there is living in the States as well, maybe some Middle Eastern origin people that as well. But you're right, active competitors representing the Arab world, there's not that many that I see.
Yeah, it's so you have that pressure to first of all push on that level, and then the next level, which is actually getting all females interested in jiu-jitsu, and then the third level, which is actually helping jiu-jitsu as a sport grow, because still jiu-jitsu is not where it should be for us to reach that level. I hear a lot of athletes talking about jiu-jiteros not being professional athletes, and I see Gordon Ryan talking about this a lot. Like, you guys are not professional athletes, you're not at that level. And honestly, you cannot blame the athletes. Like, jiu-jitsu, first of all, is young. Mm-hmm. Second of all, you're talking about so many circuits of private organizations that were organizing jiu-jitsu by people paying money to participate and getting nothing in return and expected to make a living out of it. So it was very difficult for many years, unless you're, the 1 or 2% that are getting sponsored. It's very hard for upcoming athletes to convince their community, their society, and everybody to go after this dream. It's even as a normal athlete, it's hard. So imagine in these circumstances, extremely hard to become a professional athlete. So now, with the whole opportunity to represent your country coming into the picture, it's changing things a bit. The U.A.E, JJF plus the Asian Federation and then the JJIF developed this whole scheme where they have the vision of the Olympics and they want to go there, and it changes things dramatically. Because if you have people representing your country, I cannot tell you in the past 4 years the amount of development I've seen in countries that you can't even think of, like Mongolia, Korea, Kazakhstan, Bahrain. Countries are, even with little or a lot of resources, they're being so smart about how to develop jiu-jitsu right now that they're using all their knowledge from their other sports just to make their athletes ready by the time Olympics come around, because they know that this could be their shot, And the U.A.E were smart about this, because they knew, okay, if we start now, we build the generation, we build the athletes, by the time everything is set up, we will have a huge shot to actually be number one, do what we want in this sport. And this is something huge that countries are always looking for, opportunities to be number one. So now we're at an age where I can have faith that in 10 years, the person coming after into this generation will have a shot to be full-time and feel comfortable about it, But as of today, it's very hard to blame athletes for not being full-time. I don't know any full-time athlete that is not supported by some kind of, organization. Other than that, all the people that I know that are competing, even at the highest level, are doing some kind of work, part-time, full-time. They have to. And it makes it even harder for us, because we're constantly balancing between our lives and our goals and our dreams. And it's not an easy road,
I mean, even if you look at Gordon Ryan, the example that you made, he is not fully an athlete. Like, he is behaving and training like an athlete because the guy barely sleeps. But he's trying to make instructionals. He's trying to teach classes in private everywhere he goes to cover for his bills. You have to put up an image. Like, I know he's been very successful in comparison to most BJJ competitors. But in reality, there's image and there's reality. In reality, he can't possibly be that well off. He has to, like, his income probably is coming more from his instructionals than his competitions. That's hands down. His trash talking is what made it come to a point that I feel like we're losing touch a bit of our martial arts in order to make money. So you find a lot of people now talking shit, trying to have this attitude, flying triangle, and I'm like, they're trying to find their gimmick to make them win, which is the wrong direction for martial arts. I think you're absolutely right. It needs to be more professional, more respectful.
I agree. Like, it actually makes me sad now when I see like the upcoming generation having attitude, or thinking that, that's the way to do it, or talking, bad mouthing somebody else, or doing all these things that are unnecessary. For me, I always believe that your craft should speak for you. If you're good, you don't have to say it. You don't need to ask somebody else to say it. Your performance will say it, and people will talk about you because of that performance, not because you pointed out this or that. And it's very hard, because as you said, like, unless you're doing full-time coaching, privates, and instructionals, and doing like going around begging the entire community to sponsor you, it's very hard. And otherwise, you just have to find another balance. So it's
Yeah, I think there's a big issue. Like, I've been talking about this topic with so many people, and everybody, we kind of hit a wall, because it is a fork in the road of many athletes. I think the big problem here is expectations. So many people expect to be that next Michael Jordan of Jiu-Jitsu, and that they're going to become millionaires. And the whole question is, why do you want to become a millionaire? The wealth is being the champion. The wealth is being so damn good that you inspire people. That's worth millions. The millions can come and go, but that'll never go if you can reach that. And I just think like people don't have to bring together to be a top level competitor and rich. Why? Like, don't have to do that.
There's two ways of looking at this. There's the first way, which is if we continue operating in the same scenario that we are now, where you cannot live off of jiu-jitsu, then yes, 100%, the reward is being the champion to inspire others to, set flame to the generation and break boundaries and records. Sure. Of course. Otherwise, why would we all do this? We would just have stopped a long time ago. Okay. But if you want somebody to build the sport and make it something sustainable and to grow with like mass audience, you have to have the pay as an element for people to survive and be able to give 100%. Like, I feel like being a full-time athlete, what it gives you is the luxury of getting your full potential. Like 100%, reaching where you never thought you could reach before, because you have your nutrition set, your training schedule set, your full focus and energy and time into what you really believe in, and you're passionate about this. So you're gonna be the Michael Jordan.
This is where something very interesting I discovered about Dagestan and the reason they have such a powerful wrestling culture. Dagestan, the government doesn't like gyms. You don't pay for memberships, and they don't let you in the gym. They let you in the gym if they believe you come from a special bloodline of wrestlers, because the coach gets paid by the government when he creates champions in the name of Dagestan. And when you win a medal, you get a salary every month for the rest of your life for that medal. That's your incentive. That's a hell of an incentive, because you rack up those medals, you can end up being a bank manager while just training.
This is happening, by the way, right now. So, for example, for the Asian Games that we did in Jakarta, that happened every 4 years. For a lot of the countries that medaled, they were guaranteed a lifetime salary, monthly salary.
Bravo.
Or a very big prize for that win. So that this is what I'm saying, that if we focus on this route of building people that want to represent their country and then compete, and then their country supports them, and then we create this cycle of support, then you won't have, if your son or daughter comes up to you and tells you, I want to be a jiu-jitsu athlete, you won't tell them there's no life in that, I would never recommend it. You would say, okay, fine, go represent, your country, raise your flag high.
Absolutely.
So now, because of so many years of being monopolized, the jiu-jitsu, by so many different private organizations, and it being all about the money, now it's about time where we take it out of that, context, and people start opening their eyes. Athletes should also be aware, like, yes, of course you need the experience. Of course you need to sign up for tournaments. You need to do 100 tournaments as a blue belt to get to that level. Yes. But after you put in the time and energy and effort as a black belt, you need to start knowing your worth. And if all of us understand our worth, then we'll have a lot of like fight to win and a couple podiums and, big tournaments where you're actually paid to do what you do. And this is what we all should be working on.
That's so exciting. Like I believe we are in still like this very baby phase of jiu-jitsu, even in Brazil. Even in the capital of jiu-jitsu, I feel like it's still a baby. Like there's so much growth we're still going to experience the more people discover about this.
And it's effort that everyone has to put, by the way. For us to reach that level, we have to think marketing. We have to think talking about jiu-jitsu in your workplace, in your other gym, talking to your friends, to your family. Yes. Like, you need to annoy everyone to an extent where they either convert or they stop being in your lives,
So we need a white belt, one stripe army. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Right? As soon as they get that white stripe, they're the perfect advertising agents.
Jiu-jitsu changed my life.
Exactly. Hashtags everywhere. Oh, I was one, so I'm speaking from experience.
We all were crazy, yeah.
Listen, I saw something amazing. And this is why, like, Jordan is just impressing me nonstop as well. Like, I saw that the King of Jordan welcomed you guys after, I believe, the Asia Games. Which country did you compete in?
The Asian Games of 2018. So these basically are the Olympic Asian Games. So this is the first time we have some kind of link to that organization.
Oh, the word Olympic.
Yeah. Yes. And it's not just about jiu-jitsu, it's a multiple sports event. So jiu-jitsu was added to that event. Very cool. We represented there with an amazing national team. We came back with 1 gold, 1 silver, uh, 3 bronze medals, I
Yes.
believe. And
I think 3
after we
silvers.
came,
You guys like
no, I think that was maybe no, it was 1 silver, and then 1 gold, and then three
okay.
bronze.
Very cool.
And then
Okay.
after we came back, it was us and the karate team and the taekwondo team. And it's very funny because the team, a lot of teams came out of Jordan to compete in that event, but the martial arts were the group that got all the medals.
I
And
love
we
it.
got
Yes.
the highest number of medals for Jordan in history for that
Boom.
event. And we came back, and then yes, we were welcomed by His Highness and Queen Rania, and we met His Majesty in the I think it was like, I don't know if it's the main castle or I don't know,
Okay.
but we were there, and they were nice enough to ask us about the sport, and we even talked about different systems of taxation and on sports gyms. It was like a deep conversation.
Reducing,
But
hopefully.
yeah,
Okay.
hopefully that's what they were fighting for.
Okay.
But it was a beautiful moment. You come full cycle from
Yes.
being just like a random person training a sport and having hopes and dreams
Sure.
to kind of being recognized by
At
your
the highest
country.
level of your country, yes. And
Exactly.
how much did the King of Jordan know about Jiu-Jitsu? Or the Queen?
I believe they know quite a bit because at this point the jiu-jitsu is linked with the army training.
Yes.
So we have a lot of the army training jiu-jitsu constantly now for many years. So for sure, 100% they're exposed to jiu-jitsu and martial arts, and taekwondo has been around in Jordan for a very long time. So
I see.
martial arts has been blowing up for a long time in Jordan. Like, this is what I mean. We have the will, the belief. We
Yeah.
just need that extra, support. That's it.
It's
And we've
amazing.
been getting it
You,
recently.
you've been getting the support, but like you gotta give credit where it's due in Jordan. Like the U.A.E, I'm born and raised here, and the government has literally injected so much good into the country, and
Yes.
it's like I don't know how to explain it any better than like a big brother lifting you up and pushing you in the right way constantly, and
Yeah.
it's the role model for in every country in the world of how you should really be growing your citizens. But the reason I say, like with Jordan, I give them big credit because nobody was really holding them and pushing them. But you ended up with this crazy community of black belts. Like it just naturally happened. It was not forced in Jordan, right?
Yeah. I believe, I want to believe it has to do with our genetics and the way
Yeah.
that we're brought up and the
Yeah,
way that we're brought
100%.
up to think. Like, maybe being a footballer might be something that you don't see a lot of, support for. But
Yeah.
suddenly, if you can beat someone, kick their butts, you're the champ. So maybe that's part of it. And also, I would give a huge, recognition to the people who brought jiu-jitsu to Jordan and
Mm.
how they spread it and
Yes.
how much energy and time and effort they put into spreading the name of jiu-jitsu. Like for example, when I joined Team Mirza, I had barely ever met Zaid Mirza, the founder of it. And then
Right.
later on, of course, I met him and I know Zaid. But it's amazing to see, like, he planted that seed, and then he touched so many athletes and so many people, and he put all the time and energy to do so. And then he stepped out of the picture, and then he allowed all the new generation to kind of plant their seeds. So you have all these black belts that open their own gyms, and then
Yes.
they have their own students who are now black belts.
Crazy.
And this kind of generation to generation and link is what made things really grow, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to see.
What if we take this model and like it's applied on countries? Like, do you think that this should be part of school systems just like they did in the U.A.E in different countries? Not
Oh,
without
that
being
would be
biased to jiu-jitsu. Like we're all jiu-jitsu people talking, but you know the value it has on kids.
Yeah. Listen, the thing is, if I was like somebody outside of jiu-jitsu and
Mhm.
I wanted to just understand why it's important,
Mm.
the value of just, first of all, allowing kids to interact with each other in a way that doesn't harm them, or
Yes.
they can still get that confidence, that fitness level, that anti-bullying feel, like all of these things that you need to develop as a kid, and you can have it at school on a daily basis as a norm. I think we would build much, stronger, confident, capable individuals,
Oh yeah.
and what, one of the main things that jiu-jitsu does is problem solving. So you're constantly problem solving. So
Yeah.
it can help, it can reflect on your school classes, reflect on how you deal with people, because even
Mm.
when you're moving from one position to another, even when you're tying your belt, you're problem solving, so
So true.
this kind of problem solving aspect can be used for everything. And I've seen so many people who are so good in, so like when you look at the jiu-jitsu mat, you have people from all walks of life, different backgrounds, different cultures, different age groups, different sizes. And when you see that, you will know, like, okay, so this is kind of as like a small piece of the pie of society.
Yeah.
So if you look at all these different groups of people who can work together, who can be with each
Simulation.
other, and you see that, and that's so natural and it flows, it means like maybe okay, now I'm getting into jiu-jitsu will solve all the society's problems, but it can
It
teach
will.
us it can teach us a better way of dealing with each other,
Sure.
and where there's no kind of looking down on someone, or trying to follow someone's lead just because they're wealthy or famous or whatever, but you only value their input, their time, their effort.
Yes.
This is something really nice.
I think getting a little philosophical about society, because I do enjoy that aspect of it. When you look at all of the problems that we have as people, as a country, as a region, even the US has its issues, it all stems out of insecurity. It stems out of a lack of purpose, and it all stems out of a lack of understanding. So kids growing up in schools, imagine this. Imagine they had nutrition, crystal clear. Forget math, algebra, biology. This comes later. First, nutrition. Understand how your body works. Many people right now, my friends, 30, 35 years old, 40 years old, what's a macronutrient? No idea. What happens when you eat glucose? Anything that has glucose, they have no idea, but they know everything about their car. They know everything about their favorite brands. So we start off with nutrition in school. We introduce a sport like jiu-jitsu that teaches you to lose, to win, to work with people, right? I think we'd have a lot better society, a lot people more well equipped to handle difficulties in life rather than just throwing them to the wolves.
Exactly, and I think having jiu-jitsu in your sports curriculum at school can really reflect you telling the kid from a very early stage to invest in themselves, because they're investing in the time that they're putting when they're learning something. They're not just learning a sit-up that they don't know how or when or why they're doing it.
Yes.
They're investing in their whole body movement and how it's linked to their cognition, and these things, even like for kids, they might not understand them, but later on in life you will feel like, as you said, they're well-rounded individuals who can represent themselves much better, because they have more knowledge, they understand how their body works, they understand how to interact with somebody else's body. And this is something I think Braulio was talking to you about, where he was saying you don't just learn how to manipulate your own body movement, but how to manipulate somebody else's body movement, and that's just gives you so much confidence and self-belief as well.
Very true, very true. When it comes to somebody's jiu-jitsu and being able to manipulate other people and stuff, you touched base on programming and all of this. You are known as somebody that's very well organized. I've received messages on Instagram saying that she is the queen of time management, and this is apparently something very well known about you. So tell us, how can we manage our time as jiu-jitsu practitioners? How should we, whether we have a structure or not in our gym, regardless, individually, whatever belt we are, what do you recommend as a good process to manage our jiu-jitsu?
The first step would be very similar to anyone trying to achieve anything, jiu-jitsu or not jiu-jitsu, which is you need to understand what your goal is, what your target is, what's your objective, where do you want to reach, and you have to have that honest conversation with yourself. Once you know where you want to reach and what your goal is, the next step is, okay, the how, the why, and then once you know, okay, I will reach this step, let's say by doing 1, 2, 3. Once you set those things that you need to do, the next step will be, okay, how do I program that into my life? So to do that, you have to be really honest with yourself. You have to prioritize. And that a lot of the time means sacrifice. So a lot of us want everything. They want to go out every night. They want to hang out with their friends. They want to go to work. They want to train. They want to, keep up with the latest, I don't know, and they still want to be a champion. But it doesn't work that way. You only have so many hours in the day. You have to make the best use of it. So an easy way to do that for me was always to develop a routine that allows you to be consistent. If you're consistent, it stops being something hard. It becomes second nature. Like when you have a system in place, yes, it can be a bit tiring sometimes. Yes, it can be boring to someone who keeps wanting to change things up. But if you're so motivated and you know where you want to reach, having a routine, being consistent, and constantly reevaluating is something really important. So these are things you need to always keep in mind. People just lose track of what they want. And if they know what they want, they're just not really willing to do what it takes. So you have to be honest with yourself. This is what I want. Am I willing to do what it takes? Okay. Right. Then I have to be able to sacrifice and then be very consistent about it.
Incredible advice. I have to ask you, do you do much reading when it comes to self-development and time management?
I do like to read some things to enhance some points that I already work on. There's this I forgot the exact name actually. I will give it. There were several books, but yes, it's about time management, setting your goals. I read a lot about also the power of the subconscious mind, how you can keep pushing yourself to do what you want.
Because I get a sense that you have a very structured mindset of this stuff. Like you're very well informed. Which is nice to see, because you're basing this off of real things that work. When you're giving this advice, people should be listening, because I hear you, and I'm somebody that loves this kind of topic. What you touched on is something that I read in a book called Atomic Habits, and I really liked it. It's when you schedule and turn a routine in your life. A lot of people are like, I hate being routine, I like to be creative. And the argument is, you can never be creative if you don't have a routine, because everything is a variable in your day. So then you have to commit too much energy to everything throughout your day. But if you create a routine that becomes consistent and low energy to do it, then you can be creative in other things. So I really like that advice you said.
100%. And I'll give you another example. Like I would see people who were, let's say, promoted with me at the same time.
Right.
Who, we went on the same kind of journey together. They wanted the same things that I wanted. Keep that in mind. But they just chose the more laid back approach. And I chose to be, more stable and consistent in what I wanted. And then you can see, years pass. I've gotten to a point where I was able to achieve these targets that I set for myself. And they were still asking themselves why they haven't. So you really need to, and this is why I keep saying, you have to really be honest with yourself.
Yes.
If you're not honest with yourself, I feel people kid themselves. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And excuses. Oh my God, excuses. Excuses. What's the saying? Excuses is like butt cheeks. Everybody has one. Yeah.
I think it's not butt cheeks, but I get you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You will find, if you want excuses, you'll find excuses.
Absolutely.
I'm tired. I was working too late. I have this project. I have a wedding. I have a friend's birthday coming up. You will find, if you want excuses, there's always, life is happening. Life is always happening around you. And let me tell you, it's not like I was a person that life was not happening to. And I'm like, okay, but no, I was the person who said no to the family gathering. And I was the person who, got that look from work when I didn't want to attend that office event. And, you have to put your priorities into place, and not everyone wants to deal with that sometimes.
That's very true. Like the whole excuses and procrastination thing stems also from an insecurity if I'm good enough. Like a lot of people say, I'm waiting for it to be perfect. I'm just waiting till my life is in order so I can start jiu-jitsu. And it's like, man, it's never going to be in order. That's first of all. And secondly, you're just saying that to comfort yourself, because you're scared of failure. And like, just go. Like, what's gonna happen? You're gonna get killed? You're gonna get shot at jiu-jitsu? Like, what's going to happen? Your parents will leave you and abandon you. We always make it seem so difficult, but I have this struggle when I find somebody living in a way that I know is destructive towards them, and I know, and I know just attending jiu-jitsu once will give them some sort of focus. It's such a challenge. I try, but no, like I don't succeed a lot of the times, because we create this hard shell around us of excuses and procrastinations, making ourselves seem like perfectionists because we want to create a good image of ourselves. I'm a perfectionist. I like perfect timing. Man, you're just scared of going. Just go.
It's funny that you touched base on this point, because it's one of the points that I struggle most with my students, convincing them to compete sometimes. Like you have students that keep telling you, no, I haven't trained enough. I'm not ready. No, I don't feel I'm there. No, I just need a couple of more months. And I keep telling them, like, I have to actually, I hate being that person, but I have to be the reality check. I'm like, listen, your sponsors are not waiting on you, counting on you to win this tournament. You know, you're paying to compete and test yourself to get better. And I tell them, like, take everything out of the equation. You're just simply doing this to get better. Like, when you're at the gym, nobody's holding magnifying glass to your technique, telling you you're doing this wrong, you're doing this right. But when you compete, and especially when you lose, you're watching that match over and over, and you're like, that's when I made that mistake. See, he wouldn't have won me if I just didn't do 1, 2, 3, 4. And these things are what push people to improve the most. And I keep trying to tell them, like, you will never be 100% ready. You will never be fully ready, and it will never go like you plan. Because sometimes I see athletes who are 100% ready. They're at the best shape of their life. They go into a match, they lose the first 10 seconds. And then you see athletes who are, constantly training, and they're not feeling their best, but they push themselves to go, and they ended up like winning the whole thing. So it's really about mindset. It's about you understanding that it's a learning curve. Like, that's why we have belts. It makes me sad when I feel people scared to get promoted sometimes. Like, listen, man, you getting your blue or purple or brown doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Doesn't mean you will still get tapped by lower belts.
For sure.
You will still not be the best version of yourself that you imagined. It doesn't work like that.
It's part of it.
What you will do is you will be better than you were yesterday. That's 100%.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think the format of our competitions, and I used to talk a lot about the organizers on this topic. The format of jiu-jitsu competitions still feels like one of those Mortal Kombat movies where you have to arrive, sit in a bullpen, and then you have to kill everybody to get to the top. And for a person who's not doing this as an athlete or professional, just to improve their jiu-jitsu, it seems like Mount Everest. It's like, why would I put myself through this? And I understand where they're coming from, because it's not like you go one fight, try and leave. No, it could be 6 fights, and the last person's going to be sweaty as hell and they're ready to kill you. So I think decreasing the size of the goals based on who you are. If you're an athlete and you're naturally built and athletic, go for it. Do it. Go for the gold. But I think that most people, what they should really do is train well, have some confidence in their jiu-jitsu, but then go into a competition with one goal. And that goal is, if I fight, I'm going to single leg, or I'm going to arm drag. I lose, I win. If I arm drag, I won that competition. I went into there to do that. And then who knows, maybe you arm drag and take their back and win the first match, great. But your next fight, you're going to arm drag. You're not going to win this competition. Your job is not to win. Your job's to arm drag. And sacrifice the competition. Like, for me, I don't know if you agree with this mindset and if you think it's a healthy one for somebody's first competition, but just to go in with one target. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, you achieved your objective.
Yeah, see, you make a very good point. Like, in a way, what you're saying is you're taking out the importance of winning and losing as the main factor in your mind when you're competing for the first few times, and you're adding something else into the equation, which is very healthy. It could be a technique. It could be a goal to do something you've been training in class to hit, or it could be just like you not believing you can survive and you surviving. But however, I do have one thing to say, that you should always step on the mat believing that it's possible for you to win.
Okay.
If you ever step on a mat, and I think Mendes, I think once said this, like if you put your foot on that mat and you think you can't win, don't put your foot on that mat. You know, like you really have to go in there believing that it is a possibility. Yes, you're going to do that arm drag, but you can't, you will take satisfaction in the fact that you did that technique. But you also have to start from the very beginning, building that belief in yourself, because that's the hardest part. What you mentioned about tournaments is actually the challenging part for athletes. You know, it's not the fight itself. The fight itself, your body does that every day in the gym. Your body's programmed to do that. That's what it's going to do naturally. The hard part is getting warm and then getting cold again, doing that 10,000 times in that day, not eating when you can, when you should eat before the fight, you know, being too nervous before, being, you know, feeling tired during, pushing through that, staying there from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Yes, that's
draws
where
a
you
lot of
really
people
test
away.
it.
That draws a lot of people away. It's not just tested. Like, I believe, do you think it's part of it? Do you think it should be that way?
The way, again, we have to look back at how the tournaments are set up, right? You have organizations that have a certain budget and they have to put everything within a few days or sometimes 1 or 2 days, and they want as many people to participate and at the same time give them the event. What they can improve on that will save all the athletes from this is better organization. Like when you know as an athlete, I'm fighting at this time, the full bracket will be back to back. I will be fighting for 1 or 2 hours. That's it between fights, and I will go home. It's very different than not knowing up until the day who you're fighting and when you're fighting, and then staying all that time. Yes, 100%. I agree. Like that would make all of our lives easier and will make us, you know, perform better because we're not exhausted. Keep in mind that a lot of the tournaments as well that we do, we're traveling. Like I remember when we did, I think, Mongolia, and we had to stop in Korea, and then from Korea take a flight to Mongolia, and then wait 1 day, and then the next day was weigh-ins, and then you fight, and you're still adapting to this time change, and then you have to wait in the arena and in all this different environment, and then you have to go give 100%.
That's crazy.
You know, like it's definitely not easy, and it would make everybody's life easier if they had proper organizations for the events. And it's not that hard to do. Give me one event. I'll show you.
See, that's why you're called the time management queen. I see it. I see the confidence. That's why, like, I really think that we can minimize the size of competitions. Because, like, I know there's a lot of prestige and a lot of things, but I think having more small competitions, limited entrance, more often will generate more champions. And for the people that are casuals that don't want to be world champions, they just want to compete and get that experience to improve their game, it'll give them more opportunities and make it less difficult. Because for me, if I knew I could compete every weekend, hell yeah, man. That'll be like open mats. And then when a big competition comes around, okay, just a little bit more delays, maybe I'll wait a little bit longer, but I've got that testing part in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, competing by itself is a skill. Like other than your jiu-jitsu, being able to compete is a skill, and the way you develop that skill is by doing it often, as you said. And not everybody is able to do that, or has the capacity to travel, or you know, have some tournaments are removing some belts even, so you're not even able to fight at your belt or at your age level. So to develop that skill for competitions to be a piece of cake and not being the end of the world, you know, I have this image of every single, you know, beginner wanting to compete, that when they think of competitions, they see Rocky, you know, like that final scene where the whole world is looking at them, and, you know, everybody's hopes and dreams are counting on them, and they're just a white belt on mat 4 with like 12 mats running at the same time, and then their own friends barely watch their match. I missed it, man. You know, like this is the reality. Like I keep telling them, like, honestly, no one cares. And it's sad, but this is the reality. Like, even when you're a black belt champion, the next day you go into the gym and, you know, you want to train again, and everyone wants to beat you. Like nothing happened yesterday. Absolutely. And I remember one of the most like depressing phases of my life was right after I won like World Pro. I had been waiting like so many years to achieve that. And then I won World Pro, and then I go, and then that was the month from hell afterwards, because nobody thinks what happens after you win. You just want to win. You want to reach that medal. But then I thought that if I reach that goal, okay, that's my validation. I'm going to feel good about myself. You know, I did it. Yeah. But then afterwards, everyone wants to kill you, because they think if they beat you, they're going to get that medal. And then the second thing is, you feel this emptiness because you've worked for something for so long, and you've achieved it, and now what? You know,
you're cutting up that medal in the corner, giving it away.
Everyone, you get a piece. No, but it was horrible. It was really horrible. And on top of that, I got promoted on the podium.
Oh no!
So I was also getting killed as a brown belt for the first time.
You have a target on your back now.
Yeah. So people don't think of this. You know, that's why I keep telling them, remove this pressure. Yeah. Remove, like, all of us have problems like that. We link our validation, our self-worth with winning, and what our coaches and what our teammates tell us or think of us. Yes. And that's a huge problem, because, you know, every single upset that happens, it takes you back. You don't win, you're not validated. You don't win. If I don't win, it means I didn't really deserve that promotion, or it means they're not going to promote me. Or if your coach doesn't tell you you're good in class, okay, I really suck apparently.
Yeah. You know, I've derailed my jiu-jitsu. Yes.
Yeah, I no one sees me. I don't exist. So we need to stop doing that. We need to stop validating ourselves through medals, through coaches, through teammates' point of view, people's way of thinking of us, because I've learned this the hard way. You know, you're never going to get validated if you're not validated within your own self. You know, you have to do that.
So true. I think, like, it's just a natural defense mechanism for most people is we always magnify how we see ourselves and how we think people see us, when to them, they're probably not even paying attention. Like, so many people, like, coach didn't give me my belt, or coach didn't look at me when I did my sweep. And coach is probably wondering if you put the acai back in the freezer or not. Like, he doesn't give a shit about you. He's not thinking about your knee slice pass, nothing. And I think you're right. Like, it's so refreshing when you talk about it in the way that you're talking about it, because I know many people listening, like, I feel that too, but I didn't know I can talk about it. and I hope, like, we need, because it's true. We all feel this. It's just we think it's not cool, not jiu-jitsu, not proud to. We have to discuss this because it's natural, and it'll make your jiu-jitsu better once you get this off your chest.
Yeah, let me tell you, nobody's going to lie and say when the coach is watching, you're not going to kill the person you're rolling with. Like, don't lie to yourself and say, whether or not the coach is standing right there, it's going to be the same round, you know? Or, you know, if somebody you care about is watching, it's totally different. We really care about those things. And you know what the worst scenario is? When you have your teammates around in class and they start, you know, shouting out things when you're rolling. Oh, man, you let him do that? Or, oh, you're getting a beating, or, you know, and if that's the worst culture to kind of create, actually, that culture where people, you know, keep tabs on what others did, or who tapped who, or what happened, that is the worst environment for progress. That completely kills growth, you know, because then you're worried, you're scared, you're self-conscious all the time. Like, you don't want to, you know, so you really have to be careful.
That is a huge message to gyms, because this is something that is definitely an issue. And I'm somebody that travels a lot, and I like to train jiu-jitsu when I travel. My first footstep into a new gym when I travel, I'm always like, oh shit, it's going to be a war. Because, like, it's either going to be heaven, and this is the coolest gym on earth, because in order for them to be what you're saying, they need to have that culture, or I'm stepping into hell, because I know it. I go in, guys, welcome this guest. Please take care of him. Everything seems okay. And I'm always like, I'm watching you motherfuckers. I know you guys don't mean this. And when I'm rolling with the guy, as soon as the coach walks, this like casual British soldier walk next to us, and corner of his eye, like anime, ching on the eye, I know I'm screwed. Because like then the guy I'm rolling with is like, shit, coach is watching. And I feel the energy, just like the hair on his back stands like a cat, and it's on.
It's a natural gym reflex. Like, when you have a visitor, it's like, okay, let's show them that we're really good. And then if we kill this guy and you know, carry him out in a bag, he will tell everyone how good we are, you know.
Absolutely.
So this is kind of the environment that I made sure not to have in my ladies class. Like from day one, I was always telling them, like, if one girl would come up to me or one lady would say like, did you see how I beat that other girl or something, I would say, so probably tomorrow she'll beat you. It was your day today, it'll be her day tomorrow. It's not something we talk about. Like
you have to deflate.
The only thing I do mention to the ladies is I do actually really observe their development, and I tell them, for example, see that technique you were trying to land, you finally did that, or see, like, I've seen your improvement in this position, or these are things that you want to give as feedback,
overcoming adversity.
And I was even put in situations where I had like students competing against each other, and I would have to coach both of them. And if I had this mentality of trying to put people up against each other, like it'll be so destructive to them, and by the way, this is one of the main factors why we didn't see the female environment grow fast in gyms. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to maybe upset a few people by saying this, but there's a culture of putting females up against each other. It's a natural kind of thing with males to kind of make females compete against one another, especially when they're a minority.
Wow.
So let me give you an example. You have a gym that has 2 girls.
Yes.
They're never telling them, they're not, the guys are never thinking like, okay, how are we going to get more girls? They're thinking, if you and her would fight, who would win? And they start developing this between the girls training. And before you know it, their worst round will start to be with each other. And then if you don't have a girl in that gym, they'll look at the next gym. That gym has a girl. If you and her would fight, who would win? And see, this kind of mentality and this kind of thinking puts us up against each other even before we try. Like, we don't stand a chance. Yeah. So it's super important that we don't allow people to create this mentality for us towards each other. And it's so important to push each other and say, you know what, she would beat me. I don't care. She's really good. And then you building up each other will invite more and more women to come into the gym and develop that environment as well.
As a guy, I've never even considered that. And like, when you say it, makes perfect sense. Like, I'm sure many guys would relate listening to this, be like, dude, shit, we never really thought of it that way as well. Because like, sometimes the intention is like, by trying to make it equal, we kind of make it worse, because sometimes guys operate like that. But it makes so much sense.
And when you have a visitor, when you have a girl visiting the gym, oh my God, it's the worst. Because, they think that it's your territory because you're the only like female there. So in your mind, it's, God, I finally had I finally have a female training partner. Yes, we have a visitor. I get to practice. I get to see how I am up against somebody who's like close to me. And to them, they're like, you need to destroy her.
Crush
her. She's here. She's in your territory. She cannot leave in one piece, So it's...
Oh, no.
So we need to stop this.
Oh my God, man. It's so interesting because like there are these small little intricacies within gyms and politics that we overlook sometimes that are huge to the development of a person. Especially like when you talk about women training, like Team Nogueira, you guys have a big women's team, right?
Yeah.
It's a blessing. Like I was talking to Yara Qaqish, and she was saying like most of her career was like 2 or 3 girls. So when you're in an environment where you got 30, and that abundance is great, but when you've got gyms with fewer girls, guys have to pay attention to this. It's definitely an important factor.
And actually, I wasn't always blessed with like being able to train with girls. So up until I only moved to Dubai 3 years ago, and before that, all of my training life was in Jordan. And my team, when I started, we had one other lady. She left, and then we had another one join us, which was Iman Bilbesi, and then her and I became partners and training partners. And then that's when things started to grow because we created a good environment. We became friends. We were welcoming to other females, and then before we knew it, Phytex, Haider's gym, was starting to grow in female numbers. And then I started a female-only class as well there. And then that also helped that as well. And then I had to move to Dubai. And then I think 6 or 7 months in, Team Nogeuira wanted to start a female class, an all-female class.
Cool.
And then that's when I started with them the program, and
Very
then
cool.
slowly we started building up that team. So we do have a lot of blue belts and purple belts, but do we have a lot of black belt females? No, currently I'm the only one there, and we have, I believe, one other brown belt. And
Sure.
we have, I mean, the level is still crazy. The girls are killers. Like, they kill me every day.
Very cool.
But I mean, it's still not the same when you're all guys and you have like 30 black belts on the mat, you know, or brown belts, or it's still not the same. We're still not at the level where it's really a level playing field, you know. We're still far from that.
So I made a suggestion towards competitions relaxing and people having this more relaxed mentality rather than the Mendes brother approach. I'm going to turn this on its head. What do you think about women versus men division?
Against each other?
Yeah.
For me, I never like to look at the gender. Like,
okay.
Because if I ever
but we're not looking at the gender, because right now we're not looking at the gender.
No, I mean, even in training. Because if I had to think every time I'm going to training, I'm a female, he's a male, I would maybe not perform as well, just having this differentiate. I would always think my skill against this person's skill. So I would always be up against, if they're the same weight and whatever, the same belt level, I'm with it, because it just means whose skill level is higher. You know, I always think of skill as the most important thing, and then everything else comes in between, you know. Strength, okay, whatever, muscle mass, you know, but at the end of the day, every day I'm training with the gym with 90 kg guys, 80 kg guys. And, you know, I'd like to believe I give them a hard time. And it's not because we're male or female, because, you know, you work on your skill to a level where it gives you the advantage. And so I'm all with that. Go ahead.
I like that answer. And because I wanted to ask you this question, I asked it on my Instagram a week ago. Yeah. And I had a poll, and it was very interesting. Most of the women said they were down. They're open to it. Like, this is cool. Most of the men said no.
Yeah.
This is the interesting one.
That's not surprising. That's
not surprising. To me, I was surprised. I was surprised. I would have thought, like, I don't know. I thought the men would be like, sure, if they want to fight, yalla. But like, turns out no. The guys had the problem, not the girls. The girls are ready to throw gloves.
You see this in gyms. You see this in gyms every day. You know, when I'm not gonna get into this topic,
sure.
but when you're in the gym and as a female and rolling with guys, you know, you will constantly have that guy who, you know, watched you roll the last round with another guy and saw, okay, she gave him a hard time. Yeah, I'm not gonna roll with her. Just because I don't want to put myself in that position, you know. If it was a guy, he would be lining up like, I want to see how good he is, you know. I want to really go head to head with a lady, and even if you beat them, it's always like, I didn't go 100%, or you know, it wasn't my day, my ankle hurts, you know, or it's even worse when they're condescending, like, you're really good, you know, like for a girl, like, you gave me a really good round, like. Thank you,
no! No! Holy shit!
And that will be said after them like being tapped out like 3-4 times with you know, them struggling for air, and then they'll be like, you know, you're pretty okay. So,
Good job.
This would be a perfect scenario.
I love it when you tap somebody out. They tell you good job. It's like,
oh god,
you missed the point.
That's actually male or female for that. You know, I've seen it on both ends. Or, you know, I'm going to give you the next level. Okay. They don't just tell you good job. You beat them so bad, and then they actually spend 5 minutes after the training telling you, when you did that technique, you could have done it better.
Oh, no, yes.
When you know, when they start giving you all the details and the breakdown of your technique.
Love it. No, you know what? I take it to the next level. I start asking them questions. Because you want to take it there? I'm gonna take it there. I'm gonna make this drag.
I really thought so.
So when I was slipping my hand under your throat and you were gurgling.
I'll give you one more level. One more level. I'll go with you. I'll give you one more level. Then you start demonstrating what they just mentioned.
Oh yeah. Nice. Smart.
Yeah, so you want me to do it like that then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And hold it a little bit longer.
My God.
God bless them. God bless them. This is the main thing. Like, we say leave your egos off the mat, but unfortunately it's something that's attached to us, to the hip, you know, and it has to show up in one way or another. And sometimes it's light and we laugh about it like this, and this is all good. Like when a guy has a hard time admitting he got tapped out, so it's fine. Like, it's not huge and you shouldn't repair that. But definitely the things that limit another person's ability to learn or experience jiu-jitsu in the same way, these are things that we should work on improving. But these small little funny jokes and stuff, this is all good. Like, I'm down with that. But I'm happy. I feel like these kind of discussions are always a win for everybody in the community.
Yeah, people need to face what they kind of do when they hear it out loud.
Yes.
They hear how ridiculous it is. It kind of gives them this like moment to question what they do and question their egos. Like, we all have egos. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, you know, I don't have ego, or as you said, ego is part of who you are. Yeah. It's just how you use it and where is it important is what counts, you know? Yes, my ego is to give 110%, not to let someone pass me. You know, I would give everything I've got to not accept the position. You know, that's ego. That's good ego. But not like giving someone credit for their win and always like making some kind of excuse why the person won you is really like, I think it's so not, you know, sportsman like when you do that. You know, when you go to fight someone, you already agreed that you're going to fight them. If you're sick, you're injured, I don't care. You know that you're going to fight them. And you know what you're capable of, what they're capable of. So when you fight, the fight is done, you know, fair and square. You can't say, you know, you just won me because it wasn't my day.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't take away somebody's win. You can't. And ego comes to play in that as well. And it also comes into play how you coach, how you teach. Sometimes, like, even with your students, like I've seen so many coaches rolling with their students, and it's okay. Sometimes students would tap the coaches, you know, which is normal. And then the coaches would be like, yeah, exactly how I taught you, you know, or they would start instructing them how to continue. You know? And it's like, you have to get to a point where you accept. you have
half
to
portion,
accept.
half portion of instructions for the next month. You filthy animal.
Like, you're not allowed to attend my classes anymore. You're doing it so well.
Exactly. Only warm-ups.
So you actually just have to balance your ego. Use it when it matters, and really leave it on the side when it shouldn't.
Very cool. Very cool. So off of that whole woman-men thing, I would really want to just touch base a little bit on you guys being a BJJ couple, you and Basel, because like this for me is such a cool thing. So I've been trying to get my wife to do jiu-jitsu for a long time, but you know, between like, I think I approached her with this idea when she was pregnant, so wrong on me. but now we're about to get started with, like, she wants to start training jiu-jitsu. So I've got mats at home, and we're going to start training. And when this is over, I hope she comes by and learns from you as well, and feels
amazing.
that. I'm excited for her to just feel the environment of jiu-jitsu. So as a couple, you guys, Basel was like a blue belt, you said, when you got into martial arts.
Yeah.
And when did he get his black belt, and what belt were you?
He got his black belt right before we moved to Dubai. So that would be end of 2016.
Okay.
And I was a purple belt at the time when he got his black belt.
Okay, so purple belt, black belt, that's a very nice combo. Nice.
Yeah, but keeping in mind that Basel, like, he's one of those people who really suffered at every belt. Like, like he was like a blue belt for 3 years, and then a purple belt for 3 years, and then a brown belt for 3 years, and then, you know, and I had a bit of a different journey. But so maybe the gap would have been much bigger. Like, maybe he would have been a black belt 3-stripe by the time that I was a black belt. But yes, he was doing it way before I did, and he introduced me to this whole world that I didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was. Like, I met Basel when I was 17, and the first night I ever met him, it was like a party. It was my birthday party, and it was like through mutual friends. And we were dancing, and I was telling him, like, listen, let me know when you're tired. You know, you can sit when you're tired, because at the time, you know, I thought I was the dancer.
You challenged him.
Yeah, and then he's like, no, it's okay. And then we continued, and then he wasn't getting tired. And I was asking him, like, you're not getting tired? Because I was getting tired. And he was saying, no, I do jiu-jitsu. And he might as well said some random word to me. I had no idea what he said. And yeah. And then the beauty of the journey was that he never really tried to push it on me. He never tried to force it. And this is something I always recommend to you know, spouses or somebody trying to get their spouse into the sport.
Okay.
Don't try to force it. Make them feel it's their idea, and make them feel like when you both are going to do this, it's going to build your relationship so much, because
absolutely,
you're going to have something in common to discuss and talk about and argue and fight when you almost had that pass, and then you thought you had it and he said no, you don't have it, and then you don't speak. That's these kinds of arguments are the best.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
so you will sit and you'll talk about different athletes' fights. You will develop this connection that it's very hard to develop if you're not doing jiu-jitsu. Like, I always think if somebody wants to do jiu-jitsu like full on, they either have somebody in their life who does jiu-jitsu or who does something as extreme.
Sure.
Because you want to be at that gym every day, or at least 3-4 times a week. And you want to be with your jiu-jitsu community, and you become this annoying person when you do jiu-jitsu that all you want to talk about is jiu-jitsu.
I see.
And you become disgusting. So you need somebody to mirror that.
Very good points. Very good point.
Yeah.
It takes a special person to really be with somebody that does jiu-jitsu, and they don't do jiu-jitsu. So God bless. But you're right. It does make it a lot easier when two people do it. You mentioned arguments, so you're the one that brought this up, not me. Did you ever settle arguments by fighting? Like jiu-jitsu fighting?
I think it's the other way around. I think because we train with each other so much that it reduces the amounts that we argue.
Interesting.
And it's very interesting that that the more we train together, the less energy you even have for these kinds of things. Because when you're back from training, you're both dead.
Wow.
The only argument you'll have is who's going to put in the laundry of the geese. That's that's it. Other than that, everything else seems to kind of flow better.
Very cool.
And you develop this support system. Like, I can tell you as a fact, I performed much better when we got married and we moved in, and it was this constant environment of jiu-jitsu and support.
Wow.
Versus, being with my parents, who are really supportive and I love them, but they're outside of the world. And to them, like, what is this sport that you're doing? Aren't you sick of it? Aren't you sick of just washing your feet every day?
Yes.
So it's totally different. So when you have, and for your kids, it's really beautiful to see their parents kind of involved in something together, and then it makes them want to do it and be involved with you guys. And looking at families who do jiu-jitsu, it's really, really something beautiful.
Oh yeah. There's a family that I follow on Instagram, the Jiu Jitsu family. It's a Brazilian guy that lives here, and I don't know if you follow them, but in Abu Dhabi. It's beautiful. Like, just seeing them, how they all train together, and their kids and him and his wife. It's a beautiful environment. I look forward to doing that in my own family as well. So do you ever go out with non-jiu-jitsu couples as a jiu-jitsu couple, and then they ask you something like, can you show us something? Do you ever end up in this situation?
No, like in that very specific scenario, no.
Okay.
But
because people can be funny.
No, actually, what I do remember before was, and this is what I mentioned to you before when I didn't do jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And I was doing Muay Thai, and we would be hanging around friends that don't do either martial art, and they would try to kind of light up that fire, like, oh, if you guys would fight right now, like, show us Muay Thai versus Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, man. See, I told you there's people like that out there.
But the funniest part that I get is usually at work. At work is like, because people who see me at work would never think I'm a martial artist, and people who see me in training would never think I can work. So it's like you're two different people. And so when I'm at work and they tell you, you're a martial artist, and then we should be scared, and I bet your husband is scared, and then I go like, my husband also does jiu-jitsu. Oh, you guys must fight all the time. Like, it's the same kind of,
they're just looking for an angle.
Yeah.
Oh no, like going into work with a bruise, like, did Basel do this to you?
Exactly.
And it's not the typical reason.
I don't want to even say work, I want to say training. The worst is like, because in Team Nogeuira, we have this like extreme banter amongst us. Okay, we're horrible, and then whenever one of us would get bruised, even if Basel gets bruised, they would start joking like, domestic abuse.
Exactly.
Or, and they saw it happen. It's not. So yeah.
Oh man, that's definitely a difficult one.
God.
طب لا يعني I mean this is hopeful for me and I see like I know my wife maybe I think she's watching this. I saw her on chat, so I'm looking forward to her actually like trying this and experimenting. Maybe she can bruise me and be proud of herself.
Yes, yes. If you want me to really make her want to do jiu-jitsu, then I will talk about one point only. And it's
Uh-huh.
the beauty to get, to choke your husband when you can't stand him, just like get rid of
Really?
him that day. It's you won't be able to do that, when he's not doing what you asked or the thing that you asked for 1,000 times on the mat. Let's go.
Listen, jokes aside, I genuinely feel that as a couple, uh, being able to play chess with each other, eliminating the gender inequality, right, is huge. Like to be able to tap each other out and to be able to like strangle each other. I don't know why. Like you see with friends, when I train with my friends and we go to that extreme and I hold an armbar and they tap and I let go, it makes us closer. It makes us
Yeah.
bonds better. Can you like just imagining a couple having this to do that is incredible.
I think it takes a special kind of guy to actually be comfortable with this, because you have to be so comfortable with yourself and at such a high level of confidence to have this scenario that makes you happy, and it doesn't threaten anything about your manhood.
Exactly.
And I think in our culture that's like really hard, because we have all these stereotypes of what the husband should be, what the wife should be, where they should stand, what are their roles, what they should be capable of.
But this is how we break it down. This is a great way.
This is a way of showing, as you said, like gender neutrality, and having them having like a common interest that breaks that stereotype.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. So tell me about the future. What are you looking forward to achieving and doing? Like, hopefully this pandemic ends within the near future, but once it does, what do you have in your plans for Jiu-Jitsu?
As I said before, I take it on as a big responsibility to still achieve a lot of things, to lead the way for the other generation to come.
Okay.
And of course, I want to still represent my Team Nogeuira, my country. And I also want all the Arab and Middle Eastern ladies who train Jiu-Jitsu, or even who don't train Jiu-Jitsu, who are just into sports, to constantly see someone pushing and achieving beyond the limits, and so I plan on trying to win anything and everything I possibly can. Nice. From now until my body wears out, I'm not even giving myself a limit or a limitation or 1 or 2 goals, because I've learned the hard way that if you reach that, then what's next? So I'm just going at it as targeting 1 year at a time. The most things that I can accomplish in 1 year, I'll do that. And then I'll keep doing that until enough females are inspired and we see like a whole army. That's the future.
Inspired, or I'm inspired, not just females. Like I think you can inspire males and females by what you're doing, because it's just like you said, just seeing somebody from our culture succeed in this field is so empowering and refreshing, because we're sick and tired of like the typical routes that we've been taken and the expectations. And then if you want to break this route, you need to abandon the Middle East to go pursue that route. Like, no, you can achieve all of this here. You can be as unique as you want here. Thankfully, we've evolved a lot. Our cultures, our societies have evolved that, we can pursue what we like. It's really incredible. Is this only in Jiu-Jitsu that you're looking at, or do you ever plan on like MMA or anything like this?
No, so MMA was like a very brief moment in time.
Okay, cool.
where I was looking
for a lapse in
judgment. Yeah, a lapse in judgment.
Okay.
No, it's not something that I would consider. Okay. I really love Jiu-Jitsu. I really love its sustainability aspect, that you can do it for life.
Yes.
And this is why I would want to pursue something like that and let other people. I want to be on the mat when I'm 80 and 90. I don't want to be broken down and not being able to do this. Agreed. So I want to continue doing this. I don't think MMA is the thing, but I do believe in I will keep finding ways to develop the community of Jiu-Jitsu and females, like whether it was giving free seminars or teaching classes or helping people out, whatever way I can. This will always be my goal. I will not
Incredible.
leave without a mark.
Incredible.
Basically.
No, honestly, I'm so proud to have you on this podcast, and it's a real pleasure for me to talk to you. It's been so pleasurable. Like all the topics we discussed have been so insightful and thoughtful from you. So I really thank you for that. And people listening
Thank you for having me. Really,
it's absolutely my pleasure.
Really fun, and I really appreciate the fact that you're giving all these athletes the platform to speak up, talk about their journey, talk about a lot of things that they've learned. Like, you'd be surprised what you can learn from people that maybe are not winning the championships but have developed great balance in their life.
Yes.
And that's something really important that we should all aspire for.
Yes, no, I definitely agree. And I'm telling you, like we were talking about this before we started the podcast, it's like, this is for me, I feel like I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I feel like I'm genuinely learning jiu-jitsu right now when I talk to you guys, because so many things that I would have never considered, because you have such a unique perspective. So I appreciate that. If people want to reach out to you, people listening right now that are inspired by what you're saying, where should they reach you?
Well, right now they can go to my Instagram page.
Okay.
Yara Qaqish, very straightforward.
Okay, Kakish, guys, Kakish, not Kakish, like I said on Instagram.
Okay. And you can just inbox me. You can. I don't know. I'm not that kind of person where I'm like hard to reach. If anyone, especially all the female athletes, please, if you need anything at all, please text me, message me. I'm there.
Absolutely, absolutely. You had a lot of messages on YouTube. So just real quick, Alia Al-Nahawi, Hamza, Yanal, Alia, Caitlin, Scarlett, Lilia Forrest, Zach Milliken, Grand Duke, so many people just showing love and support to you. It's amazing to see. Like
love you guys.
You have a big jiu-jitsu family, and now the family just grew a little bit more. I'm all in support for you. I wish you all the luck in the future and success, inshallah.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing. I just want to say that nobody ever reaches anything in life without the support and help of people around them. So I owe everything I have to family, to my parents, to Basel, to my friends who have always been there, my teammates, and then even my coaches, my team and my national team, the Olympic committee, the head of the national team, also Coach Zaid, Nasser Majari, like all these people who constantly help. Without these people, none of us can be able to be on these platforms. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for their support.
Incredible journey and a long journey ahead, I hope. Really, you guys, I hope you guys listening on YouTube enjoyed this podcast with Yara Qaqish. It's been an absolute pleasure for me, and I hope to talk to you very soon in the near future when life goes back to normal and we all go back to the mats.
Yes. we need to do female versus male.
There we go. Now we're open to the idea. Perfect. Yeah. Ghazal, if you're listening, let's go. Let's get ready. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. See you guys.
Thank you. See you.